Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and this is Dark Hunter, a combo build I've made using 4 different LEGO sets, that being LEGO Star Wars set number 75368, the Darth Vader mech suit thing, the LEGO Marvel set number 76277, the War Machine mech, the LEGO Marvel set number 76276, the sort of Venom mech, and the LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog set number 76995, Shadows, the Shadow bike set. So this is a combination build I've made using those 4 sets. So before I get right into it, the main inspiration I've had this started out so I got inspired by making this by a YouTuber named Taj. So one video that Taj made was basically him making a was basically making him was basically making a combination model using these same 4 sets. And what he came up with was really cool. It was really neat, really creative. But since I already had all 4 of these sets when he made that video, I thought to myself, I have I have these 4 sets. I wonder what I could make using these same parts. And so here is what I'm calling Dark Hunter. Basically last minute name because for the longest time I could not think of a name for this character. So let's finally get into it. We can first turn around here so I can look at the back. But let's start off with the face, with the head. I'm actually very pleased with how the head turned out. With how this piece here makes up the front detailing face. Kind of gives it a slight Darth Vader-esque look, kind of. But it's different enough that it sort of has its own flair. The vents on the sides I thought looked really nice, and to add, and of course the red eyes, and added some sharp angles and rounded textures towards the top. I like this head design. It looks really neat. Moving down to the torso, obviously we have a sort of red core looking thing on his chest. We also have some smooth rounded details off to the sides, and over where the collar area is, we got some sharp angles provided by wedges and some ingot pieces for texture. Well, really neat. Moving down to the lower torso, we have basically a lot of greebling and stuff happening down here. Got some of that fur texture pieces. Got the vents and little pops of color off to the side and stuff like that. Basically just a good bit of greebling to help make the torso look more fleshed out. Okay, neat. So moving next up would be the arms. I thought the arms turned out rather nicely. We'll start off with the shoulder areas. So the shoulder has these huge shoulder shoulder armor things here. They are attached by hinge, so they do hinge forward. to reveal some of the printed parts, some of like how the shoulders like constructed, I guess. I use like I use like these printed pieces from the Shadow set, which ended up getting covered up by the shoulder piece, like mostly. Still get a little bit of red popping down there, and also some like vent detailings back there. And then we got like more stuff on more hinges back here. So I guess if you want, you can use. I guess if one so chooses, you can like have this as like a sort of shoulder mounted like gun sort of like weapon system sort of thing. Kind of like that. And of course, these can like be posed around, so like they can go out like that, give a more spiky look, or they could be flipped down like so to round things off a little bit, while adding more angular texturing to it. You also like the little like vent detailings and stuff like that, and also like the underarms. You have like some round disc pieces to add more color, add more black to the shoulder area. The forearms are actually like more different than to each other. So we'll start off with this forearm, which basically looks fine. There's some like stuff to round things to like cover things up, some like tiles and stuff, and also a this printed tile used from the Darth Vader set. I kind of like put this here to act as like a sort of like wrist mounted like control panel kind of thing. Kind of like how some like characters would have in some shows in movies, or like a comm system or something like that. While on this forearm, we have something a little more interesting here. So connected to the back is this hose piece that came with the War Machine mech. Then it's attached to the forearm by like attaching by a couple of like rounded pieces. And then on the forearm, it is constructed a bit differently from the forearm, from the left forearm. The right forearm instead has this sort of laser cannon thing, has sort of wrist mounted laser weapon. With this, it is basically used from that lightsaber from the Darth Vader mech. Here, I made it work as a sort of laser cannon, wrist mounted laser weapon. So you can use it for like laser melee or as a long ranged weapon. Like really neat. Now moving down to the hands. The hands are like these nicely articulated large claw weapons with like some extra pops of red on the red on the palms. Also a good bit of articulation that we'll get to in a minute. And also pieces that we will talk about later. But I definitely am pleased with how these turned out. These are mostly like these claw weapons are. It takes up a lot of like most of the pieces from these claws are probably from like the Venom mech with some like modifications made to it to make it more articulated and more like compatible. I am pleased with those. Moving on to the legs, not a whole lot to go off of here. The like sort of thigh portions, it's really nice. I thought these turned out well. Got a nice bit of like added greebling detailing to it and some angular pops of color, some like extra pops of color towards the back. It's nice. I thought it turned out well enough. The lower legs are fascinating. It has like a smooth, angular nature to it, while also having a little bit of greebling here and there to make it look neat. And also some things so I cover things up. Like not a whole lot to talk about here, but it's just like extra greebled stuff. And then moving on to the feet. The feet have a wider foot base than most of. It has a wider foot base than any of the mechs, any of the separate like set mechs. So yeah, have like extra like rounded details, so it acts like little foot thruster things, I guess. And also like extra like added angle, some extra angles, some extra parts to add more of an angular look to it. It's a foot design that I thought turned out well enough. Then turning this build around, we can get a look at the back. Back of the head has a little pop of dark red. Weirdly enough, we do seem to have at least a little bit more color back here. So looking at the upper back portion, we got obviously the hose connected to here, but we have some connection like spots that we can talk about later. And then on the lower body, we basically have the down like angular like lower back section that looks nice. That looks nice enough. Looks well enough. And yeah, like I thought that turned out rather nicely. Moving on to articulation. The head is on a ball joint, a decently expressive one. Some of the shoulder, like torso parts, do get in the way a little bit, but for the most part, it articulates well. The torso is on a mixable ball joint, so it can like rotate around. It can move side to side a little bit, and also like arcing back and ab crunch a little. Has a bit of an arcing back and a little bit of an ab crunch. So we already talked about all of the articulation on here. We got hinge joint here, and the hinge joint for each of these gun barrel finger things. The shoulders on a mix of ball joints, so they can pose however. Each of the elbows are on a mix of ball joints, so they can pose however. I did make these bicep areas in a way that will allow would allow some like rotation that would add some that would allow some rotation even when the arm is like fully bent up like this. Because if you noticed, if I turn it this way, then it kind of has to go down before it goes this way because of how squared off this section is. But because of how I put this together, it doesn't really need to do that as much in that direction. And then for the hands, got a mixed ball joint here so the wrists can move wherever. And then then obviously a hinge joint for each of the fingers, including the thumb. And then we have this joint here that can rotate the thumb around. So you do get a very articulated hand design here that I'm quite proud of. You also can do like a little bit of a thumbs up, but he's got these like giant claw hands. The hips are on a ball joint, so they can pose however, provided some of the stuff doesn't get in the way. The knees are on a ball joint. It's limited in some spots, but it's fine for the most part. And then the elbows are And then the ankles are on ball joints so they can pose however. They can move up and down. And if I will admit if it's pulled down all the way then it doesn't pose as much, so you probably would like to have this bar connection up at least a little bit. But if not, like this is fine in terms of foot articulation. So yeah, so in terms of articulation, he's a very nicely articulated character. And the design turned out rather nicely. Let's talk about accessories. So I made two different weapons for this character. A sort of like weird little like weapon thing. It was like it's like a sort of shotgun looking thing. So basically we got a good amount of greebling here. We got like I guess a laser sight thing here that flips down, I guess. Got some greebling and some clip, got a random clip here, which I'll show what that is. And on the end is a pair of these more modern stud launcher pieces. And I'm pleased with how this turned out with the colors and stuff and the angular nature of it. Looks nice. But the one I'm more proud of, the one that I really like, is this one. This is a sort of sniper rifle-esque sort of weapon. A sort of sniper rifle in design. So it has like a long double barrel. So it has like this long double barrel design, both connected to each other by these red pieces. Looks really nice. And it also has a laser sight, which is actually a third stud launcher thing, which means both of these weapons can actually shoot. Like this weapon can actually like shoot and stuff, just like a stud launcher kind of thing. I'm rather proud of it. Yeah, and then some like tiling and stuff to help smooth things out and make and like textures things up a bit. And then also, so for some extra added detail, added like these horns towards the back and front. Overall, like this one is like fine, like because this one's mostly made of some of the leftover pieces I made. But this one is the one that I was really proud of, like because this one just looks really nice to me. And so there are a couple ways of attaching these to this figure, to this combo model. One way is by utilizing these clip pieces and to attach them to the back for like weapon storage. So with the clip here, you can just attach that there, and then with the clip here, you can just attach that there. And so with that, you can just like attach these weapons like however, basically. Like I guess you can also like have the option to attach this here so that the gun barrels is like pointed up, or you can have them like attached pointing downward. Basically I just added this as like a way to attach the weapons without just having them in his hands all the time. But then we can also hold them. So see these gray pieces here with this Technic pinhole connection, and both of these weapons have this handle like assembly where where these will attach to the hands by these Technic pin connections. So by doing that, we will attach the gun onto we will attach a gun onto the hands, wrap the fingers around as well as we could. And here we have one weapon fully attached and fully mounted onto his hand. Holding one gun like this, it's kind of like a pistol thing, kind of a shotgun thing, kind of a pistol thing. But for his other hand, you have the sniper rifle. So the sniper rifle attaches in the same manner. Wrap the fingers around. Now the index fingers in both cases, because it's difficult to have it fully wrapped around the hand, the index fingers are just sort of on the guns. And with that, here we have Dark Hunter with not only his forearm mounted laser multi-tool weapon, but also this sort of this with his guns. He's got a cool a sniper rifle-esque weapon, and also this weapon, which is in my opinion not quite as cool, but still all right. And then also if you want to, you can also use the forearm cannons. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. And just with how much pieces I used from all three builds, which brings me to my next bit. Here are all the pieces that were left over from those 4 sets. The ones I didn't use. The ones I didn't really use. Obviously, I wasn't able to find a place for those. I also opted not to use any of the CCBS limbs, despite how many there were in the set. Didn't use these torso pieces. Obviously I didn't use the minifigures, so the minifigures are just here. I didn't use the torso armors. I obviously didn't use some of these larger pieces like these. There's a lot of pieces that were left over. Let's see if I can show more. I didn't use any of the key orange or yellow pieces or orange. Didn't use the wheels. Didn't use this sort of frame piece. No. Oh yeah, I also didn't use Venom. Yeah, so there were a lot of pieces left over, but my goal was not to make a combo build that used all of these pieces. My goal was to see what I can make using these sets. So let's go ahead and move those off to the side. Alright, and with those pieces out of the way, let's move on to our next segment, which is going to be size comparisons to see how large this character is. And for that, for a minifigure comparison, let's grab Venom. He's one of the minifigures included in this set. So you stand him up right there. Yeah, he's a very large. He's a very sizable build. Let's say that. For other size comparisons, let's see. We got Terrazone. The Terrazone is one of the more recent stuff. One of the more recent builds I've done. Let's see how this character sizes next to Terrazone. He is actually like at least a head tall. Like he's like kind of crouched down. So let's try to stand him up. Yeah, he is like a head taller than. Yeah, he's like a head taller than Terrazone is, which is fascinating. Just neat, I guess. Oops. Don't mind. Don't mind that. Nothing happened there. All right. And what else do we have to talk about? I already talked about the articulation, weapons, parts. Yeah, I think that's just about it. And that's like kind of just about it. It's like overall, I feel like I've accomplished what I set out to do with this combo model. Like, haven't really like done a lot of like combo model things, like related or combo model things. For me, it's been a lot of like alternate builds, but doing the combo model for once was kind of fascinating. Now probably not most likely gonna be doing more of these combo models. Like I said earlier, this was basically my attempt to see what I could make using the same sets that Taj did for his like combo model video. And with that, that's about it overall. I'm very pleased with how this character turned out. Looks really nice. Got some really cool weapons and accessories. Made it's made him like very articulate. Got like pretty good articulation, all things considered. And in terms of part usage, I used a lot of parts, but I also didn't. But there's also a lot of parts that didn't get used, but I'm okay with that. It's not about stacking as many pieces on top of each other until you have something. It's about having like a clear vision of what you're trying to make before with the parts you have available to you. And then you make that, and if some of those pieces aren't really like part of what you're trying to build, then you might as well like leave them out and set them off to the side. But overall, I'm very pleased with how this build turned out. I enjoy like the overall styling of it. Really nice. I'm very pleased with how it was with how well it turned out. And with that, I think that'll be it for this video. I'm definitely going to be doing a video where I show you how to build this character, build this combo model. But until then, that's gonna have to be it. If you enjoyed this video, consider to like and subscribe and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.